Hey everyone, welcome back to the Circle Club. I'm Tyrone. Happy New Year. Today we're talking about the most anticipated movies of 2023. Let's get started. Number 10, Cocaine Bear. So we actually did a trailer reaction for this. I think this movie is going to be like meme galore. This is definitely going to be one of the bigger meme movies of the year. If you don't know about this one, a 500-pound bear consumes a bunch of cocaine, goes out of control on a complete rampage. I think this is sort of going to be in that Sharknado territory where people are going to be talking about it a lot. It's going to be sort of cult classic-y, very jokey, memey kind of thing, but just you go in to have a good time. All right, number 9, we got The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbird and Snakes. So I actually think that a lot of people are sleeping on this movie. I mean, when I look at the cast involved, you got Hunter Schafer from Euphoria, Viola Davis, who is like the best actress of this generation, Peter Dinklage, Jason Schwartzman, Rachel Zegler. I just think that we're all sleeping on this because The Hunger Games, how it fell flat sort of towards the end of the series, but I think that there might be actually something here. And currently, because it's not getting too much hype, that also makes me a little bit more bullish about it. I think it might be one of those things that sort of slips into the end of the year as something that surprises us. I mean, November is when it comes out. This takes place before The Hunger Games. So Cornelius Snow mentors and develops feelings for a female District 12 tribute during the 10th Hunger Game. And as we know from the original Hunger Games, that takes place during the 74th Hunger Games. So this is way before Katniss is even involved. So don't sleep on The Hunger Games. I think The Hunger Games might surprise you with this prequel here. Number 8, we got The Little Mermaid. So I didn't want to put The Little Mermaid too high, too low. We all know the story of The Little Mermaid, but obviously this is going to be a big deal because now they have made her into a black Little Mermaid. And whenever you have this gender change, race change, you always sort of wonder, okay, what is the overlying message you're giving here? What's that story you're delivering? I didn't put it too high because I'm still not a big live action Disney person. I feel they haven't quite figured out the adaptation from the animation to the live, but I think this will be promising. Halle Bailey is involved. She's a beautiful singer. I think they got rid of Sebastian, so that lets you already know there that the direction is a little bit different. I mean, a lot of people don't talk about this because it's just something we grew up on, but The Little Mermaid is a completely toxic movie. It just is really the quintessential toxic movie for little girls to watch, where it's like you have Ursula who just hates her because she's beautiful. The father, there's all these weird dynamics. If you like Malcolm Gladwell at all, he has a podcast called The Revisionist History where he does a whole deep dive into it, and you're just like, wow. All right, number 7 here. Let's see, Barbie. Now, Barbie, I know a lot of people have Barbie a lot higher on their list. Now, Greta Gerwig, I did like Little Women. Lady Bird's one of my favorite movies of all time. But I don't know, for some reason, I'm just not sold quite yet with Barbie. I think Margot Robbie's great. I just watched her in Babylon, and even though that movie is sort of messy, she does a pretty good job in there. Ryan Gosling is fantastic. But it's a comedy, and it sort of is giving me this SNL vibe where it's like, okay, this could be funny for a sketch. This could be funny for maybe an episode or a short film, but a whole entire movie, I'm just not quite sold on this quite yet. The premise says, after being expelled from Barbie Land for being a less than perfect looking doll, Barbie sets off for the human world to find true happiness. And I think that's what Barbie's supposed to embody now. You see a lot of these different Barbies that have different sizes and colors and handicaps and all these sort of things, and I think that's sort of an interesting premise to play with here. But when you look at Margot Robbie, she's sort of the ideal Barbie, so that doesn't even make sense to me, so we'll see what happens. You also have Will Ferrell, who's the CEO of Mattel. I don't know the toy company. I don't know the name of it. And Will Ferrell is definitely a hit or miss for me, but it might be sort of like the Lego movie where he's Big Brother, but I'm not quite sure. We will see, but I do think this is going to be one of those movies you'll have to see because this and Oppenheimer that weekend is going to be a pretty big movie weekend. Are you guys excited for Barbie? Am I missing this? Let me know in the comments down below. Now, this is a controversial take for some, but the Marvels, I think this is going to be one of the better movies to come out from Marvel next year. I think a lot of people are anticipating the Ant-Man and the Wasp, and I do think that is going to be a solid movie. I think Ant-Man is probably going to leave us with a lot of questions, where this is going to start to answer a lot of questions, and we're going to start to see the outer galaxy of Marvel. I think we spent a lot of time in New York, in the United States, so to sort of get to a galaxy far away, I'm just excited for that. And I believe the premise of this is probably going to pick up right where Miss Marvel ended, where they swap places. So we know Kamala has just sort of gotten into her powers, sort of figuring that out. And her family, I mean, that family was just to die for. They were amazing. I love the father, the mother, everyone's dynamic, the cousins. And they just did a really good job of world building. And then they gave us that hint about the X-Men. So I'm like, okay, maybe we get a little X-Men tease in this. Maybe an X-Men shows up. I don't know. But I think a lot of people didn't love Brie Larson's interpretation. And that script wasn't the best to me. And I'm not a big Brie Larson fan myself. However, I think Kamala Khan, this actress, Iman Vellani, she's just infectious. Like, when you see her on screen, you're like, I want more of her. I want more characters to be around her. She just elevates everyone around her. So, and she is a genuine Marvel fan, and you can see that portrayed on screen. So I think when you take someone super likable like her, someone who, is back and forth for some, like with Brie Larson, you put those two together, I think it should end up working out. And not to mention, Monica Rambeau from the WandaVision series also was a fan favorite, and people liked her as well. So seeing these three together, figuring out the plot and where we're going in phase 5, I just think this movie is going to be super, super exciting. All right, now we're moving on to number 5, John Wick 4. The John Wick series has given me hope about action movies. Like, this sort of gave me that craving that I thought the new Matrix would do, and it sort of makes you feel like you're back into that world of, like, I don't know, when you have a story, right, where there's rules in this world. Like, I love the idea that at the hotel, like, these are the best assassins in the world. They are the hires that you want. But when they get to this hotel, that is like, you do not break those rules. Or the whole idea of the token, like, they've created this beautiful world, and then the whole thing just jump starts where he's like, I don't want to be in this world anymore. But then they kill his dog, and it just sends him off. And I think most people who have pets sort of know, like, obviously you're not gonna do that because that's absurd, but like, that's sort of the feeling you would have. You're like, you killed my dog, you killed my cat. And I think this is like one of those Tom Cruise projects where as the technology gets better, as time goes on, they're just gonna try to keep elevating what they showcase with CGI, with stuntmen, with the plot. So I'm very excited for John Wick 4. Number 4, we got Oppenheimer. We did a whole video, so you can go and check that out for our thoughts. And we had the professor, aka Adam, come on. He's a history teacher, came on and just really broke down that whole story. So this story isn't exactly about a war story. It's about humanity and, what this making a nuclear bomb would do for the rest of civilization. It changed civilization, right? And Christopher Nolan is just like top of his craft when it comes to taking a simple ideal or topic and just really expanding it in so many different directions. And then this cast is just gonna be, oh my goodness, right? I mean, the cast is just star-filled, and Rami Malek, got a little sign up there, my guy, is gonna be in this. You got Robert Downey Jr. This is really, I know he's done a couple things since Iron Man, but this is gonna be probably his first like legitimate thing that he's done. How can you just not love Cillian Murphy? I mean, he is just everything that you want in a protagonist. He's gonna be the guy who speaks up when no one else will. So I think this is gonna be a very intense movie. And then with Christopher Nolan, he's one of these directors who makes his films to be seen in the theater. So this is going to be a theater experience. And I would say, honestly, the next 4 that we have here are all theater experiences. Are you guys excited for Oppenheimer, or do you guys think that Oppenheimer is going to be a little bit overrated? Number 3, we got Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. Now, I did not grow up a Mission Impossible fan. During the pandemic, I binged these movies because I was just like, yeah, I had a Tom Cruise kick once I saw Top Gun. I was like, I need more of this, man. Like, he is legitimately doing these stunts. I went to the Spy Museum in DC, and they were talking about how Mission Impossible movies are like pretty accurate. Like, they were like, they really aren't that far off. Like, obviously you have some spectacle there, but like, they're like, no, this is really how it is. And Tom Cruise is such a meticulous sort of creator that he really wants these things to feel real and like have the actors actually embrace what it means to be a spy. So, you know, you got to go underwater. You got to really go underwater. You got to jump off a plane. You got to really jump off of a plane. And I think Tom Cruise is really given cinema just an injection of life by putting on these larger-than-life performances. And I can't believe that we still don't give stunt people awards at the Oscars, because they really are what make movies cinema. So I'm super excited to see where that movie goes. Number 2, Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse. I also did a breakdown for this trailer where I picked out all the Easter eggs. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. Now, where I'm hesitant with this movie is I hope we get fan service with the Easter eggs, but it doesn't become too much. But the original Spider-Verse is like one of the best superhero movies. Definitely the best Spider-Man in my opinion, but the best superhero movies we've gotten. And I think that's because it just really stayed with the foundation of what a comic book looked like. You see Puss in Boots sort of imitate some of that with the animation style, and I think we need way more of that. I think there was a period where Pixar and DreamWorks and all these different animation studios were trying to make the animation look realistic, and while that is beautiful and there's a place for that, I think for a superhero movie to have it feel that way and have that expression, it just really it brings something to the screen that we haven't gotten before that's really refreshing. Now, before we get into number 1, I wanted to mention a couple honorable mentions here. So there's supposed to be a Napoleon movie coming out next year starring Joaquin Phoenix, and we really haven't gotten a lot of movies about Napoleon, even though everyone knows Napoleon Complex, and Napoleon was this short little dude who had just destroyed and got whatever he wanted, but we haven't had a lot of those movies, so I'm excited to see this, especially as a history buff. I think this is going to be a fun one. Another one I haven't heard a lot of people talk about is Shirley, starring Regina King, and it's about Shirley Chisholm, one of the great African-American leaders of politics. I haven't heard a lot of people talk about that one. That one should be excited as we get more news. I think Creed 3 is going to be an interesting one because Stallone is not involved in this one. There was a lot of back and forth with him in the studio, so some fans are like, should we boycott this? Should we not? But then you got Jonathan Majors, and you're like, damn, Jonathan Majors. Like, we've seen the stills of this dude, and you're like, yo, him versus B. Jordan? Like, that might be a little preview of what we might get in the future in Marvel. But yeah, I think that's going to be one that's super interesting as well. The last one's going to be Challengers by Luca Guadagnino, who did Bones and All, and he did Call Me By Your Name. And this one's going to star Zendaya, and I think Zendaya hasn't really had the opportunity too often to star in a movie versus being on a TV show, and we know she crushes Euphoria. And then with the Marvel thing, it's serious, but not really. So it'll be interesting to see how that one turns out. And my number 1 movie I'm excited for is Wonka. I think Wonka is going to be a very polarizing movie because, as we saw with the Johnny Depp series, people were like, back and forth, not sure. I am a Wonka fan. Like, I love Willy Wonka. It's definitely all time, like, in my top 3. I love that movie. I particularly love Timothée Chalamet as well. I think Chalamet clears. Paul King is a director on this. He did Paddington 1 and 2. Now, I know this is a hot boiling take. Paddington didn't do much for me. But I know people love Paddington. They're like, Paddington for a while, I remember like, it was like number 1 on Rotten Tomatoes, 100%, and everyone was losing it. Oh my God, Paddington's the best. But it just didn't do much for me. But I'm going to trust the audience here and think that maybe this guy can get the job done with Wonka. And then you also have Olivia Colman, and I'm like, Chalamet, Coleman, Rowan Atkinson. There might be something here. This predates Wonka actually in the Chocolate Factory. This is when he actually meets the Oompa Loompas. I think Timothée Chalamet might be the right guy for this project, and I just want more of world building. Like, if we're gonna take IP that we've already seen, give us something else. I don't want you to recreate Willy Wonka. Don't do that. Give me Willy Wonka before the Chocolate Factory. Give me after the Chocolate Factory. Give me Willy Wonka when he first tried his first candy. You know, I don't need to see the same thing over. And I know that's a hot take for some people because you do want to see, you know, a fresh, modern take. And that's fine. There's places for it. Write your own story. Let it be. But yes, this is my top 10 of most anticipated. Let me know in the comments down below where I got wrong and what I didn't and what am I missing on here. Make sure you subscribe because we make new content every single week. I'll see you all in the next video. And remember, as always, just be you. Peace.